Hi, friends. I am recording this today from Northern California, and I am going to talk about the full moon in Cancer that is coming up tomorrow. And it's very interesting that that's what's happening. And I'm also going to talk about the impact of the sun with that. So that's coming up, okay? But I also wanted to start out by saying that I am safe here in Northern California. I think much of the world is watching Los Angeles burn right now. And I may get emotional. And what I want to say is that this is happening on a scale that we've never really seen before. And people want to blame the firefighters, or they want to blame the water supply, or whatever. And I think it's really important for us not to be putting blame like that, number one. And number two, for us to be able to step back and go, wow, how did we get here? And I know many of you are in different parts of the world. And I got an email from someone in my community telling me that it had been raining nonstop in Paris since the beginning of the year. And I have someone in my Sovereign Sisterhood community who is in Poland, and Poland was underwater earlier in 2024. And many of us know about what happened in Western North Carolina with Hurricane Helene. And there's many, many instances all around the world. So we're in an incredibly dynamic period of change. And part of it has to do with these so-called natural disasters. They're called natural because they're coming from nature, the force of nature. We're getting to see the force of nature. And they're not natural in the sense that humanity has contributed to the conditions that have led to what's going on. So in that sense, they're not entirely natural. They're a co-creation of the natural world and what we as a humanity have done. And I know that you or I or any of us individually is not responsible for this, right? And yet we are all responsible in another way, right? And now that this is coming closer and closer to all of us, it's vital that we pay attention. My kid, who is Gen Z, told me that they had seen a meme not too long ago of, here we are watching climate change on our phones until it comes closer and closer and closer to our own reality. I know we had very active fires here in Northern California for about 5 years in a row. One of them in 2017, there was a fire that swept through the big town next to me, 7 miles away, Santa Rosa. And it was devastating. And it was enormously stressful, even for those of us who weren't in the immediate danger of what was going on. And so what I want to say is that if these kinds of disasters have not come to your immediate environment, they influence all of us, whether we're watching them, on the news or on social media, or whether we hear about things that happen to friends of ours, right? It's something that is influencing all of us because we are part of one consciousness. We are part of one humanity. We're part of one world. And I do believe in this ironic and unfortunate way that these disasters are forcing us to see how much we are a part of one world and how much we are really connected. And one of the really beautiful things that arises out of this is that the communities come together. And one of the things that's happening in Los Angeles right now, and I've been posting this on my Facebook page, not only about all of the local people who are offering, if you have pets who have been harmed, there's vets who are saying, come here, we can take care of your pets, or people are offering their Airbnbs so that you have places to stay, or whether it's somebody who had an equine place said, bring your horses here. We need people to come and help with the horses. There's disaster relief that's pouring in. All of that's happening. But there's also people who are coming, firefighters who are coming from Canada and Mexico and South Africa. Just all over. And it's enormously touching, as you can see for me, at any rate, to see how this is coming together. And for those of us who might be up in arms about authoritarianism taking over, and there's certainly a big wave of that. I'm not in denial. But I also see something else really, really potent happening, which is not only the disasters, but the responses. And as we all know, inside of every challenge, there's an enormous opportunity. Not that I wish these challenges on any of us, of course. And yet, here we are. So, my invitation to you, and this is the invitation to me as well, is what's our opportunity in the midst of this disaster? Or any disaster that's been near you, or any challenge that's arising in your life. And next week, I'm going to be offering the Breakthrough to Sovereignty intensive. And it's really about preparing us for this Aquarian age, which we are stepping into. It's about how do we develop our relationship with the planets in the transits, but also the planets in our own human design that can help us understand how we can grow our fortitude, our strength, our mettle, and what practices are going to help us do that so that we can be strong in the face of what's happening, so that we don't just crumple or turn away. It's also about building our own inner landscape so that we have that strength. And then how do we relate to each other? How does sovereignty and human design and our energy practices help us understand how to be in relationship with each other? Because these are the key components of the Aquarian age. So I'm going to put the registration for that at the end of the video and down in the description. And so if you're interested in growing yourself to be more strong in whatever situation you're in, whatever environment you're in, whatever community you're in, these approaches are going to support you in being able to have more command of yourself and of these situations. I don't believe that we attract all of this stuff. I don't believe that the people in LA attracted this disaster. There are forces that are at work that are much larger than your individual consciousness or my individual consciousness. And yet we are responsible for our own consciousness. And I have committed myself over the last few decades to helping to raise the consciousness of the people that I work with, starting with myself as much as possible, because I do believe that as we raise our consciousness, we will be able to heal our planet. And that the way to doing that is not necessarily immediately seen by us, and that we have to raise our consciousness in order for those solutions and those strategies to become available to us, for us literally to be able to see them. Because if we're stuck in fear and in victim consciousness, we can't see the way out. We can't. And so we have to evolve ourselves into a different perspective. And the outer planets are really helping us do this. And so that's why I've been focusing so much on this lately. Okay. So that was the message I wanted to give you about the fires, about consciousness, about the assignment that we're being handed right now, and about the opportunity that you and I and we all have to find our ways to contribute to helping to heal ourselves, our communities, right? Our individual circuitry, our communities, tribal circuitry, and our world, collective circuitry. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into more specifics around the full moon in Cancer that's happening on January 13th. So the sun moved into the gate 61 on January 11th. And the sun is still in the gate 61. And the earth moved into the gate 62 at the same time. So the full moon that's happening on the 13th will be in the gate 62 because during a full moon, the moon and the sun are always opposite each other across the human design mandala. And just know that the sun and the moon, sun and the earth are always opposite each other across the human design mandala. That's how it works. That's how we get our incarnation cross, which is one of the things we'll be talking about in the Breakthrough to Sovereignty that's happening next week. Is our incarnation cross and how the sun and the earth move around the mandala. And so the moon and the earth are both in the gate 62 during this full moon. So full moons are always an apex, right? It's always the brightest time for the sun. I mean, for the moon, right? It's like a searchlight, right? A lot of times. So it is shining a light on places that we don't ordinarily see. And it can reveal aspects of shadow. It can reveal things that we've been avoiding or just not paying attention to. And so here it is. It's shining a light, and it's shining a light on the gate of details or preparation. And this is an interesting gate for this time because the question that arises for me is, how well prepared are we for these times? Are we prepared for what's happening in our world? Are we prepared? Are we paying attention? Do we know the details, or are we turning away from them? Is the full moon kind of grabbing us and saying, hey, take a look about what's going on, and are you prepared? Now, if you look at the conversation that's happening like on Facebook, and I'm in this because I'm constantly posting things on my Facebook page about where people can go and get support, right? Or how to prepare or what you need to do, right? And there's a bunch going on in there about how to be prepared, what should be in your go bag if you need to evacuate, right? So that's an extreme example of being prepared. But we all have other ways of preparing more readily in our everyday life. And so the question for you now that the full moon is saying is, are you prepared? How do you prepare? And this is a full moon in Cancer. And Cancer is a caring sign, right? It's about caring. It's about nurturing. It's about compassion. It's emotional. It's tender. It kind of wants to wrap you up in a big warm hug, right? It has that kind of watery emotional quality to it. And so here the sun is shining on the moon, right? In Cancer, and saying, how are you caring? What are you caring for? Are you caring for yourself first? Are you caring for others? Are we prepared to care for others? Are we prepared to care for ourselves? Where are we putting our attention? And so during this time, it's really great to be just getting really honest with yourself about that, right? And I think that the ways that our culture has taught us to prepare a lot, we're starting to see the kind of, vacantness of that, right? It's very vacant. This idea that you're going to work your whole life and scrimp and save to save for retirement so that you can have funds when you retire. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't save for retirement, but there's this idea that you're putting your life on hold for so much to do this. So that's kind of the narrative that we have about preparing, right? Is for that oftentimes distant future. And we do it sometimes with fear. Oh no, am I going to run out of money before I die? Not recognizing that we could die at any time, or recognizing that there are things that come to us sooner than that. And so my invitation to you during this time is to ask, what do you really need to prepare for? And what are the details of that? And it might be that you need to prepare for making a change in your life. Because if you've been following what I've been talking about the outer planets at all, you'll know that we have major, major changes that are already happening and that are going to be coming through the next 3 years. Potent changes in 2025 and 2026, the prophecy of human design of 2027, coming in 2027. Like, we've got a lot of major changes happening. And my question for you is, are you prepared for that? This is a lot of what we're going to be doing in the Breakthrough to Sovereignty, is looking at what's our current situation and how well prepared are we to handle change. I mean, you take a look at what's happening in Los Angeles, right? My goodness. Or whatever has been true for you, right? With people that you know. So, are you prepared? Are you prepared for the changes that are coming? What are the preparations that need to be made? And my suggestion is that the first place to look is always inside. It's not necessarily like when we're in a disaster situation. Sure, we want to make sure we have our passports and our birth certificates and our will and, whatever. A lot of that stuff's electronic now, but still, right? We want to make sure that we have those things, right? So that we can rebuild our lives if we find ourselves in a disaster. That's true. But the other thing is that how do we prepare ourselves to be able to have the strength, the fortitude, the resilience, right? To be resourced enough and resourceful enough to be able to meet the challenges that come in our lives. Now, I'm hoping that for you, disaster does not come your way. Okay? I'm hoping that for you. And yet we live in a world where we're going to have to be facing some things that we've not faced before, right? And a lot of times when we are facing challenges, what do? We look to the past to see, well, how did we deal with this in the past, right? Which makes sense, right? It's what our subconscious is designed to do, is to look into the past, to be like, how did we deal with this in the past? Unfortunately, though, we're in a time where we can't really look to the past so much because, like I said, what's happening in LA, we've never seen anything like this. And I've heard this over the years from the firefighters, that the fires that we're dealing with, they've never seen before, right? Or that what happened with Hurricane Helene in Western North Carolina, they've never seen anything like that before. So that's all to say, we can't go into the past to prepare. We need to look into the future. And from my view, we need to open up our channels so that we can be receiving downloads from superconsciousness, from our guides, from the angelic. I work in the angelic realm, primarily, not the galactic realm. I know others of you might work more with galactic beings. I work more with angelic beings, to be able to be receiving the support that we need from non-physical. And fortunately, the sun is in the gate 61, which is the beginning of the knowing circuit right here. Okay? And so we can be asking to be receiving from superconsciousness what we need to do to prepare. I really believe in my heart of hearts, if we agree to receive this assignment, okay, with our hearts open, right, our minds open, our feet connected to the earth, right, that it's going to work out okay. It doesn't mean we're all going to have all our stuff, right? And it doesn't mean that nobody's going to die, because clearly people are dying, right? It doesn't mean that. But I do believe that we're going to make our way through this really tumultuous time, and that we each have the opportunity to prepare ourselves when we open that channel to superconsciousness and are willing to receive that kind of direction. And the outer planets, Uranus in particular, has been just in the knowing circuit this whole time, right? And it's going to move into the gate 25, which is a beautiful gate, when it moves into Aries. And this is the invitation, right? Is to tap into the inner guidance that's available to you through superconsciousness, through the knowing circuit, through your intuition. Okay? Everybody has the knowing circuit, whether it's defined in your chart or not. And right now you've got this super potent gate that's lit up for you. And I would say make the best of it. Do some journaling, make some collages with images that really speak to you. Tap in to what your body is trying to tell you. Try to stay out of your mind. Try to stay out of fear, right? It's not a place to create from when you're in fear. So the first step is to really move out of fear, if you can. Regulate your nervous system so you can receive that download coming from superconscious. Then you can prepare for whatever might come in your life. And if you need some extra support, go look for the playlist on my YouTube channel that's called Gifts for My Audience. And there are a number of different Kundalini yoga practices, Kriya practices that can help you to regulate your nervous system, to be able to move out of fear so that you can be more calm, more stable, and more able to make the best preparations infused by cosmic consciousness that's possible. And I invite you to come and participate next week to help get prepared with our community. All right. Many blessings, my friends. Be well. Take care of yourself and take care of each other. Bye for now.